Hey, I've got a question for you. Have you ever felt like life is like running on a hamster wheel? And I know we're not hamsters and we've never ran on a hamster wheel, but we get the picture. That is, we're constantly running, we're constantly toiling, constantly working, but not really feeling like we're making any progress. We're not getting anywhere. But the good news is that the preacher in the book of Ecclesiastes, in his prologue, he felt the same way. And this Sunday, I'm going to preach a sermon that I've entitled, The Hamster Wheel and an Open Door. Because the reality is that's how life feels. Last week, we looked at the 4 key words or phrases that kind of help us understand the book. The first word was the word hevel, in which we understood that there is no one English word that rightly sums up that word hevel. So we looked at the different ways in which the preacher uses it throughout the book. One of those is frustrating. As he's looking to life, he makes a statement. He says, vanity of vanities, hevel is hevel, all is hevel, all is frustrating. And he asks a question. It's a rhetorical question. The question is this: is there any gain? For all of man's work done under the sun, is there any gain? And that word gain is important really through the whole book, because what he's asking is, at the end of everything, at the end of all my toiling, all my working, at the end of my life, after all my bills are paid and my expenses are paid, is there any net positive? Is there any value at the end? Is there anything left over that would say life was worth living? So he begins to seek after that, if you will. And he asks that question, is there any gain? And he has that phrase, under the sun. Last week we looked at under the sun and we understood it's from man's perspective. It is in the realm of the hevel. But I want to add a layer to that for our understanding. When we think about the word, or we see the phrase under the sun, what it is indicating to us is that we have a limited view here on earth, under the sun. We have a limited view of God's providential hand. See, we're not deists, we're theists. We're not deists. We don't believe that God just created the world, spun it into motion, and just kind of sets back and everything's up to the natural laws of creation and things like that, and he has nothing to do with it. No, we believe that in all things, that the providential hand of God, even in the hevel, is doing something. It's working something out. And so, what I want, when we see under the sun, I want it to immediately trigger for us to think, no, but there's another perspective. Yes, there is the view from under the sun, what man can see, and the man, like on earth, but there's one who sits above the sun, who reigns above the sun, and there's a different perspective. And so as we begin to journey through the prologue this week, and he gets extreme. He gets through the pictures of creation and man's experience, and then he makes a statement. There is nothing new under the sun. Remember, trigger, but above the sun, is there something new? Is there something new that God is doing? Is there something that God is actively doing even in the hamster wheel of life? He asks the question, can anybody say that this is new? So come this week, this Sunday, as we walk through the prologue, Ecclesiastes chapter 1, verse 1 through verse 11, and we're going to embrace the hevel, embrace the frustration, but ask God to give us a perspective, not from under the sun, but above the sun. And I've had a few people ask different resources that I'm using. Here's just a couple. One is Why Everything Matters, the Gospel in Ecclesiastes by Philip Ryken. Another one is The Pundit's Folly by Sinclair Ferguson. And it's really just some thoughts, some meditations on the book of Ecclesiastes. I'll have these out as well as others on Sunday morning if you want to check them out. Great resources. But anyway, hope to see you Sunday. Listen, if you haven't heard last week's sermon, it is important that you go back and listen to that so we can hit the ground running this week and have those keywords and phrases in our mind as we try to understand the book of Ecclesiastes. So hope to see you then.